It is a lovely first day from this side. How are you doing? And thank you for joining us on another edition of Public Square. It's been a while away from the program. It's good to be back here, and I really want to thank you for joining us again after about 3 months or thereabout. All right, we're back like we always do to discuss topical issues from the standpoint of the people. That's what we do here on Public Square. And today we will be doing just that again. But quickly, let me inform you that there's a little twist to the program. We'll be rolling out some of the headlines in the course of the week. That's from the dailies, from the national dailies. And yes, a little bit of chit-chat here and there on those headlines before we move into the discussion, the proper discussion for today. My name remains Olabisi, Olaniyi, Oluwasegun. This is Adaba 8.9 FM. I have my studio guests already here with me. Zadok, compliments of the season.
Same to you. It's always a pleasure to be in the beautiful studio.
Yes, he is a public affairs analyst and the former PDP publicity director in Ondo State.
Yes.
It's good to have you join us on the program.
It's a pleasure being here.
I also have Dr. Adaba. Thank you very much, sir, for always turning up whenever we want you to do so.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, compliments of the season to you as well.
Same to you. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much. My name is Olabisi, Olaniyi, Oluwasegun. We hope to have Mr. Rotimi join us in the course of the program. But quickly, let's take some of the stories from the Public Square in the course of this week. All right, on Monday, the 25th of January, 2021, from the Vanguard newspaper, we have a lot of stories there, but this one seems to be the prominent story on that particular day. Tension as Ondo government 7-day ultimatum to herders expires with riders. Presidency drives peace talks between Southwest governors and Miyetti Allah. Governors Miyetti Allah parley over insecurity quickness. That's also from the New Telegraph. Keredolu hosts Southwest governors, herders leadership. 15 killed, houses razed in NURTW members clash. That's from the New Telegraph. And this one, COVID-19, Unilag set for non-physical post-UTME test. That's an update on COVID-19 and its attendant effect on the public, on the populace. All right, from the Nigerian Tribune, free-range grazing must be stopped. That's according to Southwest, and that's one of the resolutions, of course, from the meeting held on Monday. Cheers, jeers, hope as new service chiefs take over. Yes, that's one of the biggest stories of this week. Nigeria, after a lot of agitations here and there from well-meaning Nigerians, eventually the service chiefs threw in their resignation letter. And now we have new men at the helms of affairs. For those who have not yet met the new service chiefs, let me quickly reel out the names. Chief of Defense Staff now is Major General L.E.O. Irabo. Chief of Army Staff is Major General I. Atahiru. And of course, the Chief of Naval Staff is Rear Admiral Azid Gambo, while the Chief of Air Staff is Air Vice Marshal I.O. Amal. Okay, that's that about that. We also have coming from the Vanguard as well, Buhari directs action on out-of-school children. Well, maybe that would give a different result this time around. Buhari signs executive order mandating use of face mask. Okay, another update on COVID-19. Defaulters to face fine, 6 months jail term. And there's also a new law now to check the spread of coronavirus. That's from the Daily Independent of this morning. Okay, I've been able to trail some of the stories, and quickly I'll turn to Zadok to ask which of these stories really piques your interest.
The story on the ultimatum given by the Ondo State government to others within our government reserves. And that story piques my interest, particularly because it's much more closer to home. And I am a citizen of the state, and I have seen with my own eyes the level of carnage, destruction, and the fear in the hearts of our people because of the presence of these people in the jungle. It's as if our jungles and our forests have become hiding places for criminals, masking their criminal venture under the herding of cattle, or the execution of their enterprise. So that piques my interest. And amazingly, the response of the Ondo State government and the Southwest governors also piques my interest. I must commend them at the end of the day for some of the steps they have taken and encourage them to do more.
Okay, a lot to talk about regarding that, but I would not rest until I ask which of the stories piques Dr. Theo's interest as well.
Well, it piques my interest. I mean, the
issue of the
issue of the herdsmen.
Okay.
But I am really disappointed the way government as a whole structure, contradicted itself, in handling an issue as serious as the security of the people.
Okay, that means that probably our minds are working together, because today we're talking about the meeting held on Monday, the 25th of January. That's a peace pact that was brokered by Southwest governors regarding the incessant killing of very innocent citizens, I beg your pardon, by suspected herdsmen. We cannot really say that these people are, the herdsmen that we've been used to over the years. But for now, it will be safe to say that they are still suspected herdsmen. Okay, so a communique was issued on Monday after that meeting by the leadership of Makaban. By Makaban, I mean the Miete Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria. Service chiefs were also in attendance, and we had Southwest governors as well as the governor of Kebbi State, that's Mr. Atiku Bagudu, in attendance. They talked comprehensively about some of these issues, and then a communique was circulated after the meeting. I'll tell you some of the issues raised and the resolutions reached at the end of that meeting in the course of the program. But first, we'd like to take the voice of some of the attendees at this meeting, what they said, and then that takes us to the next issue.
I want us to ensure that we are able to resolve this amicably, and then ensure we have a standing committee that we have in the state of both governments, MACBAN that represents herdsmen on a large scale, and the farmers. If you're able to do that, you'll be able to resolve most of these issues amicably.
Criminality in any form will not be condoned.
Ensure that we go after the criminals, all of us together.
Whoever is a criminal should be dealt with as a criminal. Against all forms of criminality, because we don't represent criminals, we don't support criminals, we don't condone any form of criminality. MACBAN is a peaceful association. Night raising must stop, whether in the south or northern part of the country. Media is partner in progress. The world is not waiting for our country. If we continue to cause agitation in our land, we compound our problems.
The reason our forest is ours as the area of coordination. So anybody who is there illegally has 7 days to vacate the place.
In a communique issued at the end of the meeting, Dr.
Okay, we had the voices of Governors Oyetola, Seyi Makinde, Atiku Bagudu, and of course, Ondo State Governor Rotimi Keredolu. They're taking their turns to talk or to speak to the issues at hand. And also, we had the National Secretary of MACBAN, Bab Othman Ngele Zerma, also speaking regarding the issue. So quickly, let's go through the communique that was issued, and then from there we'll take it one step at a time. After that meeting, the security and welfare of the people of Nigeria is the primary purpose of government as enshrined in the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria as amended. That's the first resolution that was reached at the end of the meeting. Well, I think that's no news. The stakeholders are committed to the unity and indivisibility of Nigeria. Insecurity is a national challenge and not peculiar to any tribe or region, but must be addressed by the cooperation of all. The order of the Ondo State Governor was misconstrued and misrepresented by a section of the media. He only ordered those occupying the forest reserves in Ondo State to quit. Those occupying the reserves in Ondo State illegally to quit. Okay, we'll take it from there. A lot to read from the communique, but first of all, in the first place, there had been lots and lots of issues, attacks here and there, supposedly by these suspected herdsmen. People have been killed, citizens have been kidnapped for ransom, some killed in the process. What exactly should we attribute this to? I'm sure that there is this story of we've been living peacefully before now, what happened all of a sudden, fine, that's a narrative. But then if we must be honest with each other, what do you think, Zadok, I'm with you now, what do you think is the cause of this all, problems?
I think going first to the order issued by our governor to others to vacate the forest, without a reason, he wouldn't have given that order. And the reason why he gave that order, I believe, was because of the incessant kidnapping along and within Ondo State territory by herdsmen. Not just kidnapping, killing, armed robbery, arson, and acts that are basically terrorist acts within the territory of Ondo State. And as the chief custodian of the security of life and property within Ondo State, it became his responsibility to take action. And I think what he did when he gave that order that the herdsmen should vacate was applauded by all, and even applauded by our own political party, because the issue of the terrorists within our forest masking themselves as herdsmen is not a political issue. It's an issue that affects each and every one of us. Just 2 Sundays ago, a younger brother of mine was caught in the kidnap on the way to Elisha. Fortunately for him, he was able to escape with his wife in a vehicle and drove into and was able to escape, basically. So coming back to what causes this issue, the northern part of Nigeria has over time accepted, promoted, and propagated a culture of polygamy and having children that they are not willing to take responsibility for. These children are allowed to roam the streets in the north from as little as 3 years old to feed themselves. And basic psychology will tell you that a person becomes the character of how he or she is raised. And these children are raised without love, without the capacity for empathy, without the capacity for sympathy or any form of affection towards others, because they are raised on the streets. And these children are now being exported or moved away from the north to our region. And that's the truth of the matter. You see them, young men, boarding trucks all the way from the north and coming to the south. And we have them, what are they going to do when they come here? One of the first things they do is to look for people of their own type. That's why you find that the Sabo, the Shasha becomes their first point of call, from where they link up with people that they are familiar with. if they hear that, okay, there's a Fulani settlement somewhere, they walk there. And when they get there, the feeling of, just like we have Yorubas, if you find yourself in the UK, you tend to come together as a body. So also here, they come together. Now, this criminal element...
Come together to terrorize
they come together,
the original owners of the land? Is that what you're saying?
No, the initial purpose may not be to come and terrorize. But when you find yourself in a place where you are not socially compatible, you are not educationally competent enough to seek a job. Look, most of those coming from the north, what kind of job do they come to seek here? Come to seek jobs as guards, houseboys, and the rest of them. And so at the end of the day, we have a big issue that must be put back on the table of the North. The North must take responsibility for the product of that culture of Almajiri, where you are having children that you don't care for, children that you don't cater for, children that within their own homeland in the North are social outcasts.
Even apart, let's leave the issue of Almajiri out of the bigger picture now. See, it's no news that the Northerners are predominantly thrive on cattle rearing.
Yes,
it's been like that since time immemorial.
Yes.
So now, that would even broaden the issue, make it bigger than we ever envisaged before the start of this program. But first, let me welcome Mr. Rotimi Ogunleye. You came in late, and I think we should fine you for that. That's a new rule on this program. You come late, you're fined.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
For fining you. Okay, you are an APC person, and I'm sure you have a copy of the communique, I should suppose.
Yeah.
And you've gone through it.
Yes, I did.
In your own mind of minds, not just as a party member, but as a true citizen of Nigeria, how would you assess that communique? Does it make any sense to you?
It does. It does make sense to me in the sense that if you are a leader and you are bestowed with responsibility to act in the time of security breach, you equally carry the responsibility of designating between who the criminals are and the few, no matter how small, legitimate herders. You are governor over the two, and you are in a part of your mind, in the part of your administrative conscience, you would consider that there are some people who, despite all this criminality, may not belong to this class. So while you are trying to punish the criminals, you create a very little space in your mind to accommodate those who are no criminals. So that is the summary of the outcome of that particular communique. It is not a one and all communique. It's not that it will address all the issues just over time. At the time. Over time, we may need to reappraise, adjust, impute some other security measures, and even impeach some of the security approaches that we think they will provide solution to all the problems that they may not, after all. Somebody raised an issue, which I think before now had not dominated our discourse in the public. He said, okay, no overnight grazing, others should be registered, they must leave our forests. He said all of this, fine. He said, what of if they graze during the day and they were so emboldened by their criminal tendency to even go to your farm, uproot cassava and use it to feed their cow, and yet you as a person who is read, who is civilized, may not want to confront somebody that has nothing to lose so that you don't lose your life. So how do you seek redress in that kind of situation? If they had left and they have wrecked your farmland, what do you do? So I think maybe that may be the reason why the fact that, okay, let's have more members of Amotekun Corps. If there are many, Nigeria is very, very grossly underpoliced. I heard the governor of Oyo State saying that as big as Oyo State is, which is far more than the entire landscape in the southeast, they only have two area commands in Oyo State. So the governor is asking probably for 6, 7, 8, or 10. So which means in curbing crime, the volume of police officers, security apparatus we have, they are not even enough to curb the crime. I think we should talk more about that, so that even when they graze during the day and there is problem, the response time of police and security agents to these criminals who have taken kidnapping and killing as the order of the day will be very, very reasonable. If you had to call the police and in about 30 minutes they are not in the crime scene, then it means you are not going to achieve anything. So I think that's why I said that communique is not one enough. We should not, at every point in time, speak and begin to criticize our leaders if they have made a particular position. Rather, we should look at that position and begin to help impute senses into it and say, okay, why don't we just have it this way? Why don't we just do it this way? Why don't we incorporate this? So that the space for governance will be robust, rich, and beneficial. That's where I see it.
Okay, Dr. Theo Adebowale, a copy of that communique is right here with me, but because of our time, we may not be able to read out everything word for word. Are you familiar with the content of the communique?
At least part of it, and I recall which one.
Okay, let me take these parts from the copy I have here. MACBAN. This is coming from MACBAN, from the representative of MACBAN at the meeting. MACBAN is a peace-loving, law-abiding organization which does not abhor or condone criminals, and agreed that night grazing should be banned henceforth. Underage herding is inimical to security and hence be banned. Occupation of state forest reserves illegally is condemned. By that, it means that herders who reside or who stay in forest reserves illegally are now criminals. Should be made criminals. That's according to the resolution. These three resolutions that were made, to me, were on ground before that meeting. Before that meeting was convened.
Okay.
Now, what do you think is the level of willfulness of government, especially, and stakeholders involved in this, at ensuring that herders and kidnapping, herders, farmers clash, and kidnapping of citizens is really nipped in the bud?
Well, the fact that this ban of night grazing and underaged by underaged herders have been a sing-song for years, and nobody is taking heed
Seriously.
of them. You know, it makes a mockery of the whole show. And particularly, at some point of interrogation, the federal government has confessed that many of these herders are not Nigerians. And if we agreed that these people have lived with us as brothers over the centuries, and suddenly they have a change of attitude, they have become murderers, then something more fundamental is wrong with the system. Again, Rotimi was saying that we should have a way of influencing our leadership, you know, maybe to put in some things, you know, to make things work. We've been talking about service chiefs over the years, that they should be changed.
No, they've been changed.
Now they are changed.
Now they have been changed.
Yes.
When the president is satisfied that the deed is done.
What deed are you talking about?
The deed that all these problems have overlapped and continue to overlap. So those of them who will succeed, the new ones, will have to wade through the problems that are on ground that will have been corrected earlier than now. I think that the political leadership has been unfair to the people of Nigeria when it comes to our security, particularly as it concerns the issue of a Fulani X-Men. And I believe that we have a responsibility to be more agitating. We have a responsibility to be more demanding and learn to make government compel government to reflect what the people actually want, not that they will impose upon us as if we were in a military regime. Now, it's unfortunate.
Now, talking about being more agitating,
yes.
Being alive to the citizens' demands, and for government to be compelled to identify with those demands. I'm going to be turning to the APC man in the studio. Okay. Now, a lot of Nigerians, especially in recent days, have been clamoring for the total eviction of herdsmen from in Ondo State now from the forest reserves. But the governor keep insisting on having the legal ones remain in those forest reserves. This has caused some sort of controversy as whether or not there wouldn't be some sort of infiltration, even if the legal ones are there. Don't you think that the Fulani are too closely knit not to allow their brothers to join them? For instance, like Kamzat rightly said the other time, there could be some sort of brotherliness between the legal herders and the illegal ones in the event that it happens. So what do you think government should do to ensure that there is better monitoring of the process so that there won't be any sort of problem in future?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that the experience we've had as Nigerians with our leaders has almost made us to be cynic. We tend not to believe or trust our leaders and any process they may institute because of our experience, because of what we've gone through. Look at what Oga said the other time. He said over time they've been telling the president to change his service chiefs that he only did when he knew that the deed was done.
He didn't even change them. They resigned. At least officially, he changed them.
No, anyhow.
After they had
yes. Now, and one thing I would draw from that is that we should continue to persist. You taught us that. We should continue to persist. If you have leaders who appear not to be listening, continue to make the noise, reasonable noise, sensible one, to continue to go to their ears. Back to your question. Nigeria is a complex entity. We have systemic problem. Systemic problem that emanates from constitutional logjams. I'll put it that way. If we are all Nigerians and we are practicing, in quote, federalism, it means that me, as Mr. Rotimi, from Akure, Ondo State Extraction, Southwest Nigeria, should be able to live in Katsina, Funtua, and own a land, and even get permission and go to their forest there and do my legitimate business if I choose to be a herder. Of course, no Yoruba person is known to be a traditional herder anyway. That is what our constitution says. And if you're a governor, the best side of your policy must emanate from the estuary of our constitution. You cannot just close your eyes to it and do whatever you like. It will be difficult. It will be difficult because you are exposed to some external influences and discussions that will question your integrity and what you have labored to build in the past. Because just 8 years maximum, you walk out of the government house. So you can't afford to constitute a kind of heady idiot to so many people when they have advised you that this is not right, this is what you are supposed to do, especially when you even are familiar with our law. So it will be difficult for somebody to just close his mind. But be that as it may, I think the first way to start is to first of all have legitimate herders. Let them be registered, take their biometrics, then have enough monitoring. If you cannot have police, Amotekun call that you will equip vehicles, telecommunication gadgets, so that our reserves will be well monitored. Then the so-called Fulani elders, then they are supposed to be brought under a very serious legal condition that if you harbor anybody who turned out to be kidnappers and is caught, the same punishment that goes to that person goes to anybody that is traced to him. If we start from there, if it's not working, then we'll know. For us to just evacuate all of them, like if you go to Akoko side, there has been some Fulani herders that have been living there in the last 30, 40 years. That very much I know. Where you had problem in Ibarapa and Co, most of the Fulanis have been there for about 40 years and above.
Even the Saraki,
you understand?
said he's been there for 45 years.
To just see overnight now, all of them should go, except we are thinking that we want to set aside the constitution. We are not supporting criminality. I hate what they are doing, but the truth is, why people are condemning them, if we have a few ones, no matter how negligible their number may be, that are doing their legitimate business and what they know and what they are doing is their job. I have a friend, he has a palm tree farm. We met in front of one supermarket in Akure. I don't want to mention the name. He told me he has a palm tree farm. Then he has a cassava plant by the side. He said maybe they were having a kind of a small fire issue. The thing now gone into his palm tree farm, did some damage. He said the Fulani people came. He will be listening to me now. He said the Fulani people that have been in that farm with him for more than 10 years came to meet him at home and they said, sorry sir, yesterday we were having fire in our court. It went into your farm. We just want to come and inform you so that you can come and look at it, whatever the damage, so that we can pay for it.
Okay, that's a nice.
They are Fulani too.
It's easy to it's quite not very easy. It would not be easy for a lot of Nigerians to identify with that story or to.
No, what I'm saying is 1 out of 1,000. I'm not saying that.
Now, can't we have Zado? Is it not possible to have registered criminals?
You see, the first thing why all this thing government is doing may not work is that there must be a law first. It is upon the basis of the law that crime. It is when you flout the law that a crime is committed.
Oh, yes.
Without that, you cannot technically say that anybody has committed a crime. I was reading the communique and I found a place where Magban said, those who illegally occupy the forest. That means there's a proviso, which means that our forest reserves can be occupied by them legally through the consent of government. And that is where the issue of registering them comes in. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. How many Fulani men, if you register 1 million of them, what about the 1 million that you cannot supervise your forests to ensure that they are not there? In developed climes, what they do is not to go after the man that is owning the cow, is to go after the cow. Tag a cow, for instance. There's no way anybody would allow his cow to enter anybody's farm because it will be easy to trace the owner. Is Amotetu going to be seeking for the owner of the cows? In developed clients, when you are raising cattle, you will find this tag on their ears. When your cattle once it drops a calf, government, it is mandatory. It's not something that you choose to do. They will tag that. Because that tags it with your farm, shows that who owns this cow. If that cow commits a crime, then the owner can be made liable. But it doesn't occur, it doesn't stand here.
Okay.
Number 2, sorry sir, sorry man. When you go back to that communique says something should be done. It's not an affirmative statement. What I would have loved to hear, and which I try not to be political because this case affects everybody, whether you're PDP or APC.
Definitely.
Who allowed them in the last 4 years to settle within our forest without complaining? Now that they are in our forest and they are becoming a nuisance.
They've been there over 10 years.
I am not saying that we not always.
Is that before you go ahead?
No. Wait, let me explain.
Let me quickly clarify.
So that I can respond.
Yes, let me quickly clarify the stance of MACBAN.
Yes.
MACBAN MACBAN is insisting that its members are not criminals. It's insisting that these people who kidnap, who maim, who kill are not Nigerians. They're not members of their association.
Fantastic. I agree.
How do we reconcile
MACBAN
that?
says that their members are not criminals. But their cattle being brought into Ondo State in massive numbers, usually around the airport, because I was witness to one when they were dropping the cattle and driving them into the bush. Before they move the cattle into Ondo State, are we not supposed to have these people in natural resources that would ensure that resources moving from one region to the other is tagged? Yes. So they have moved into the state. Who taxed them? Who knows the number of cattle coming into Ondo State? Who knows who is bringing cattle to Ondo State? These people drop their cattle and one small boy drives them into the bush, and we assume that every look, anywhere there's cattle being raised by anybody, MACBAN cannot dissociate itself from being, because it's the umbrella body of cattle headers. So whether they are legal or illegal, MACBAN becomes vicariously liable for them. What the criminality you are seeing, the criminal component of what you are seeing now with kidnapping, is what I've been trying to isolate for you. It's not just about cattle heading. It's about the fact that the North has a big problem with their Almajiri system. And most of these children that were not cared for from youth have to also seek a living. And when they come to a new state, where do they go? They look for people that they are, that they are familiar with. And it is in this familiarity that criminality comes in. When on Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, when is my brother, but we are not of the same parent, was kidnapped on that road. He said that these are young people. And he said clearly that these are Fulani people. Now, it doesn't mean that every Fulani man is a cattle header. It doesn't. But these people that are coming, that have this propensity for committing crimes against our people, who are they? If they are found with cattle, automatically they become Fulani herdsmen. If they are not found with cattle, let Amotekun and security agencies go into the bush, which I expected the governor to do before he gave that order.
Before we even start talking about going into the bush, now it's been also resolved that free-range grazing must be stopped to avoid conflicts. To avoid free-range grazing must be stopped, meaning that uncontrolled grazing, I guess, must be stopped must be stopped to avoid conflicts between the farmers and the herders. Now, just a few days ago, I was driving somewhere in Akure, and I saw cattle on the streets, littered everywhere. The question that brought to my mind, Mr. Rotimi Ogunleye, is how would these people be the ones who the erring herdsmen? How would they be nabbed? Is there a task force in charge of that? Will there be? Is there a CCTV camera to know who is erring at a particular?
Salah just raised a very good issue. Yes. That one, before you can say you solve this problem, there must be a law that will strictly prohibit what we are talking here. It is when you break this law that a crime is committed.
People break law every day.
Wait. That's the first leg. The second leg is, how do you enforce the law? It is when you enforce the law that people will stop breaking law every day.
Okay.
While I was driving to this place, something came to my mind. One driver just came from the area, drove recklessly and almost bashed the car by the side of the road. And I said, how can people just flout traffic rule just like this and they go away scot-free without any problem? And it happens every day on our road. That's enforcement problem because the traffic laws are there. So let's now shift from this law of a thing to enforcement process. For you to enforce the law appropriately and very well, one, you must have men enough to do it.
Yeah.
Do we have enough police?
Amotekun has 20 vehicles.
Yes. Now, look at. Let's even start from the traditional police. Look at Akure. You can count the number of police stations around. Are they even enough for all of us? In Akure alone. Let's be scientific in our approach. It's not just bringing issues and emotion into this. Let's be practical and be realistic. The truth is, we are grossly under-policed. So, if we are having an Amotekun that is having 5 vehicles from the meager resources of the state, bearing in mind the millions of problems and fund challenges that we have, it is expected that that is what we are going to get, unless we are deceiving ourselves. That's one. Two, how many vehicles do the regular police
functional vehicles?
Yes, how many? How many? So what we are saying here is that first and foremost, let us compare the president, the governor, and everybody to see the security challenge from the position of lack of ability to enforce the law. Okay. Let them equip the police force. Let them equip Amotekun force. If we have a well-equipped police with enough equipment and technology, what is in that? People that are hiding inside the forest? Yes, of course. What is in some criminals hiding in the forest?
Would it not become a flouting of the law if the governor, without the law, decides to arrest cattle that is roaming the street? Have they flouted the law of this land by driving their cattle on the street? No.
No, you can't say no. You can't. You may not know. You may not know. Wait, please. You may not know.
Yes,
you may not know.
Me on
you see, unfortunately, I'm not a lawyer, but I know that Ministry of Environment.
Yes.
If you go to local government, until I mean, look at the law. I don't know that some things are
prohibited.
Yes.
Yeah.
Until you see it. It
okay.
will be there.
Until we verify that, Dr. Theo, until we verify that, Dr. Theo Adebowale, part of the resolution also is that MACBAN should embrace and be committed to modern breeding process by creating grazing reserves and practice ranching to prevent cattle roaming about. Is this even feasible in the first place? Do you see it working out?
In the first place, I see MACBAN in double speak. MACBAN has not been consistent.
Speaking from both sides of the mouth?
Yes. When the law on Amotekun came, it told us that the law targets its members and that it will resist it. Two, it says that it must be incorporated into Amotekun so that it could join the force, in carrying out.
At some point, they even said they were scared of Amotekun.
Okay.
Yeah, you just said it.
Okay.
They said it.
So now for them to come again and be telling me, I don't trust them. And I just think
that's
that
a big one.
They are having a laugh.
It's a general opinion. I don't trust them.
They are having a laugh at us. Yes. They are making a sport of us.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I believe that is not
absolutely
good. That is not good for the conscience of this country, and it is inimical to the security of the land.
Yes.
Because if you take security as a matter of joke, then the people are doomed. Besides that, we are talking about shortage of a security personnel. The little they were able to do, what was the product? There were several instances when cattle rearers were caught in the breach of the law. They were taken to police station almost everywhere in the country. As soon as they were arrested from the front door, they were released through the back door. And everybody knows this, and MACBAN knows that. And if they can enjoy this type of impunity, claiming that a law prohibiting impropriety is targeting their members and flouting the law, before the whole world, then we should not deceive ourselves. Something more concrete, something more reasonable has to be done, and we have to insist. Okay. But more importantly, you see, when you try to undermine the authority of a political unit, you are undermining your own political authority. If the federal government tries to undermine the political authority of the states, then it is putting itself in an unsafe ground, and it always has a way of answering back. So the federal government should be told, all these things will pile up, and there will be a day of reckoning.
Okay. All right. So governments and stakeholders, because of our time, we'll still open the port briefly for people to call in. For those who have been agitated, and so we could, stakeholders involved in this whole issue could pursue the resolution and all the contents of the communique to a T. What do you think should be done?
Number one, in that communique itself, it says that Magdan should create grazing reserves. How? In whose land? Where?
Nobody will lease his land.
Nobody. So how do we create that? I think that what we should be focusing away from is not the Fulani herdsman himself. It's just the cow. Tag the cows so that those who own them can be documented.
Yeah.
And then you can know that once these cows enter this place, you only need to catch one. For government to know that your cow XYZ is in a particular farm and then you pay. Let us also have laws that gives compensation to those whose resources have been taken without right. That solves the problem. I think that if we keep saying that Magman is a very, very dishonest organization. Look, cattle herding is a multi-trillion naira business whose beneficiaries, the product of their wealth does not come to government, doesn't come through taxes, it goes to the owners. Do you know the number of cows killed here? I think that states should begin, the Southwest should begin to look at options of how do we have alternatives where we also own cows.
Bearing in mind that there are sponsors of the business even right within us in the Southwest.
You see, it's always an excuse given. When you complain about cows, they will say it belongs to some of our people. It's a lie. What belongs to our people is very inconsequential. As a matter of fact, even if it belongs to them, they still have to go and buy it somewhere. You understand? And so, what we need to do is look at the business of cattle herding. Let's assume that in Akure South alone, on a daily basis, let's assume 50 cows are killed, which will come to about 1,500 in a month. I mean, 150 or 1,500 in a month. That's a lot of cows. How do we partake? How do we partake? If you kill 400, let's say 450 cows in a month in Ondo State for Akure South alone, multiply that by 200,000. That's a huge amount. So it's a business. We must stop looking at the cattle herder, the illiterate man raising his cow, and start looking at the business. Let's target the cows. Tag the cows and begin to cede ownership of some of those cows to our people. Let our people begin to raise. If you own land in Akoko, I wonder why the Akoko people are not raising cows. That belongs to them.
Okay,
that solves our poverty issue in Ondo State.
Let's quickly open the ports briefly for people to call in. 090-817-78793, 090-817-78793, or 08162519991, 08162519991. Let's hear what you think about the issue being discussed this morning. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, good morning. What's your name?
Hello?
Yes, you're with us. What's your name, please? All right, keep trying. 08162519991. It's important we listen to your part of the story. Let's hear what you think about this issue. While we wait for calls to start coming in, Mr. Rotimi Ogunleye, moving forward, the meeting has been held, resolutions have been made, herders are still very much with us, and we hope in coming days that there won't be more cases of kidnapping. But so we do not have this happening, a recurrence of such issues. What do you think should be the next line of action? Now that, okay, resolutions have been made, what should be the next line of action?
Yeah, I think going from here, the governors of the 5 states or 6 states in the Southwest, so to say, even across the nation, they should begin to look at issue of security as the number one on the list and see how they are going to fortify the local security they have been trying to create under the ambience of law, and again, in a very good working relationship with the Ministry of Interior, bring up the need for governments to have more.
All right, we have someone on the line. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Okay, seems we have a problem with the lines this morning, but time is.
In line, I mean, in connection with the Ministry of Interior, put pressure on the government to increase the number of our police and make it efficient and functional. Let the police be professionalized. We don't have professional policing system in Nigeria. That is why crime thrives here, unchecked. Okay. When you have a society where you know that you can go away with crime and you can benefit from the proceed, people will continue to troop into criminality.
Okay, Dr. Theo, in the heat of these security challenges, Amotekun was institutionalized, and ever since we've been hearing one or two stories emanating from that part, from that end. Do you think that Amotekun, in its right, would be able to help stop the trend of kidnapping and herdsmen-farmers clashes in times to come?
I think Amotekun has great potentials. The only thing is that, like the journey to Macedonia, there is great tribulation. There is a great conspiracy
against Amotekun. How so?
Well, like the Macban. Macban had declared Amotekun its enemy.
Sworn enemy.
Even when it was not created.
Before it was created. And federal government agencies are so intolerant. They have not shown any tolerance for Amotekun. But I am sure that it has to persist. It has to insist for a space. And thereafter, it will be considered to reach. But it should not expect anything. A platter of gold.
A platter of gold. Finally,
we should support Amotekun.
Okay.
We should also streamline its job. Amotekun has no business trying to administer the culture of the people. Amotekun's primary business is to ensure that our forests are safe. Let's also empower the forest guards. There are so many places where people are living in Ondo State and they are undocumented. Make those places illegal. Make it illegal for people to start communities in Ondo State that do not have an ancestral basis, that do not have a cultural basis.
Okay,
people cannot just come into our forest and start a community and they are living there for years without them being documented. So such places, once they become illegal, Amotekun will be able to go there and disband it and destroy it and then move the people away from it.
Okay, in a few seconds, Mr. Ogunleye, your assessment of Amotekun, do you think it will help in the coming days?
Oh, sure. Amotekun has the potential, like you said.
I mean,
Yes, it has the potential, like I said. I will only advise that they take good cognizance of professionalism, equip them, because one mistake will be too many for the work. People will just turn their faces away from it. So they must be professionalized and they must see their call to duty as called to serve the ordinary citizen of this state.
Okay, according to Mr. Rosibi Ogunleye, one mistake by Amotekun will be too many, and we're calling on them right about now. This will serve as a call to duty. Personnel in the security sector, including those in the local security sectors, should come together to ensure that this continuous killing and kidnapping of Nigerians is put to an end. On that note, we'll come to the end of the program today. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us again next week, Thursday, when we would return. Many thanks to my studio guests for coming. Mr. Zadok Akintoye, thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure.
Mr. Rosibi Ogunleye, it's nice to have you.
It's my pleasure, despite my lateness.
Dr. Adaba, thank you very much for coming, sir.
Thank you for
My name is Olabisi Olaniyi Oluwasegun. Good morning.